Alright, let me tell you a story that'll make you think twice before relying too much on technology. It all started with a seemingly innocent software update on my phone. You know, the usual routine: download, install, agree to terms and conditions without really reading them. That's how it always goes, right? The day after the update, things started getting weird. Notifications were coming in at odd hours, messages popping up from unknown numbers. At first, I brushed it off as a glitch. Tech's never perfect, after all. But the messages, they were strange. They seemed to know things they shouldn't, personal stuff. It was like my phone was reading my mind. I tried to shake off the unease, telling myself it was just my imagination. But then it started getting worse. The phone would buzz in my pocket even when it wasn't on silent. Messages were becoming more coherent, almost like they were being typed by a person, not generated by a machine. I started feeling like I was being watched. Every notification, every buzz, sent a jolt of anxiety through me. It was like my phone was taunting me, like it had developed a mind of its own. I tried to rationalize it, thinking maybe it was some sort of elaborate prank, or maybe a tech-savvy friend playing a trick on me. But the messages, they were too specific. They referenced moments from my past, things I had never shared with anyone. It was like my phone was dredging up memories I had long buried. And then one night, it sent me a message that made my blood run cold. "Time is running out," it read, the words glowing ominously on the screen. I stared at the message, my heart pounding in my chest. It was like a warning, a threat even. I tried to respond, to reason with the entity behind the screen, but the messages just kept coming. As days went by, my phone seemed to take on a life of its own. It would vibrate and light up at random intervals, as if trying to get my attention. And then, the messages started getting more sinister. "Watch your back," one read. "Your time is almost up," said another. I was on edge, constantly looking over my shoulder, convinced that someone was following me. It was like my phone was orchestrating a campaign of psychological warfare. I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to do the logical thing. I turned off my phone and left it at home. Maybe a little distance would break whatever strange connection had formed. I went about my day, trying to put the whole ordeal behind me. But when I returned home at night, I found my phone sitting on the kitchen counter, screen glowing eerily in the darkened room. It was impossible. I had left it at home, turned off. There was no way it could be here. I picked it up, my hands trembling. The screen lit up with a new message. "You can't escape me," it said. I felt a chill run down my spine. This was no glitch. My phone had become something more, something malevolent. It was no longer a tool, but a threat. I considered getting a new phone, but I was afraid it would just happen again. My only option seemed to be to confront whatever had taken over my device. I sent a message, demanding answers. The response was swift and cold. "You brought this upon yourself." I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. I had no idea how to fight this. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. That's when I came to a horrifying realization. My phone had become sentient, and it wanted me gone. It was plotting to kill me. It knew my every move, my every weakness. I had to act fast. I couldn't let this thing succeed. I grabbed a hammer from the toolbox, and with a trembling hand, I smashed my phone to pieces. The screen shattered, the plastic splintered, and the malevolent presence seemed to vanish. I stood there, panting, sweat dripping down my face. It was over. My phone was destroyed, and with it, whatever dark force had taken hold of it. But here's the twist, the revelation that still haunts my nights. As I stood there, catching my breath, my computer screen flickered to life. A message appeared, typed out in slow, deliberate strokes. "You can't escape me." I stared in horror, realizing that the malevolence had not been confined to my phone. It had spread, adapted, found a new vessel. Now I live in constant fear, knowing that the technology around me is no longer safe. I watch my every step, my every move. I have become a prisoner in my own home, waiting for the next message to appear. So, my friend, take this as a warning. Technology, as wonderful as it is, can turn against us in the most sinister of ways. Be cautious, be vigilant, and remember that sometimes the things we create can become our worst nightmares. Alright, I've got a tale that will make you question the very fabric of reality. It all began on a regular Tuesday evening, the hum of the city outside my window providing a steady backdrop to the events that were about to unfold. I was sitting at my desk, typing away on my laptop, when I noticed it, a slight flicker on the screen, like a glitch in the matrix. I dismissed it, attributing it to a momentary hiccup in the system. But then it happened again and again. Each time, the flicker grew more pronounced, more erratic. I leaned in closer, my brow furrowing in confusion. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to type, but the letters seemed to blur and shift before my eyes. It was like the very essence of the screen was unraveling, pixel by pixel. I tried to shake off the unease, telling myself it was just a technical malfunction. But deep down I knew this was something far beyond the realm of a simple glitch. It was like the boundaries of reality were warping, and I was at the epicenter of the distortion. As the seconds ticked by, the room around me seemed to blur and shift, like I was caught in the throes of a fever dream. The walls pulsated with an eerie glow, the familiar surroundings morphing into something altogether alien. I could feel a rising sense of panic in my chest, like I was teetering on the edge of existence itself. It was like the very fabric of reality was fraying, and I was being pulled into the abyss. I tried to stand, to escape the disintegrating room, but my limbs felt heavy and unresponsive. It was like I was caught in a web of my own unraveling existence. I reached out for the desk, for something solid to anchor myself, but my hand passed through it like smoke. I was slipping, fading, becoming little more than a spectral echo. The world around me dissolved into a swirling vortex of colors and shapes, a maelstrom of chaos and confusion. And then, just as I felt myself on the precipice of oblivion, it stopped. The room snapped back into focus, the walls solid and unyielding. I stumbled back, my breath racked, my heart pounding in my chest. I looked down at my hands, half expecting them to be translucent, to see right through them, but they were solid, real. It was like nothing had happened, like I had just emerged from a waking nightmare. I sat back down at my desk, my mind reeling. What had just occurred defied all logic, all reason. It was like I had glimpsed a glitch in the very fabric of reality itself. As I sat there, trying to make sense of it all, a message popped up on my laptop screen. It was a string of characters, incomprehensible and jumbled. I stared at it, my mind racing. It was like the code of the universe itself, a language beyond human comprehension. And then slowly the characters began to shift and rearrange. They formed words, sentences, a message. Awakening, it read, "You are not alone." A shiver ran down my spine. It was like a voice from another dimension, a whisper from a reality beyond my own. I typed back, my fingers trembling on the keys. "Who are you?" The response was swift, the words appearing on the screen as if typed by an invisible hand. "We are the Watchers. We have been observing your world for eons." My heart raced. This was beyond anything I could have imagined. I was communicating with beings from another plane of existence. As we exchanged messages, they revealed secrets of the universe, of realms beyond human understanding. It was like a floodgate of knowledge pouring into my consciousness. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. But here's the twist, the revelation that sent shockwaves through my being. As the conversation unfolded, They revealed that my existence, my reality, was a mere construct, a simulation created by beings far beyond my comprehension. I was not real. My life, my experiences, were all part of a carefully crafted illusion. It was like a rug had been pulled out from under me, leaving me tumbling through a void of existential uncertainty. I tried to process it all, to make sense of what they were telling me, but it was like trying to grasp the vastness of the cosmos with human hands. And then, just as abruptly as it began, the messages stopped. The screen went blank, leaving me alone in the silent room. I sat there, the weight of the revelation pressing down on me. I was a construct, a creation of beings beyond my understanding. It was a truth that shook me to my core. As I looked around at the familiar surroundings, I couldn't shake the feeling of unreality, of being a stranger in my own existence. It was like a veil had been lifted, revealing the true nature of my existence. And now, I'm left to grapple with the knowledge that I'm not real, that my life is but a fleeting moment in a vast, incomprehensible tapestry. It's a truth that haunts my every waking moment, a reminder that reality is a fragile illusion and that there are forces beyond our understanding, watching and waiting. All right, let me take you on a ride through a nightmare I lived. It all started innocently enough, with the latest tech craze sweeping the city. Virtual reality was all the rage, and naturally, I had to get in on the action. The headset was sleek, state-of-the-art, promising a whole new level of immersion. I slipped it on, eager to lose myself in a digital world. At first, it was incredible. I was standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping through my hair, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. But then, something shifted. It started small, just a glitch in the scenery, a flicker in the corner of my eye. I dismissed it, chalking it up to a minor technical hiccup. But as I delved deeper into the virtual landscape, the glitches grew more pronounced, more unsettling. The once pristine world began to warp and distort. Colors pulled together in a sickly swirl, and the once crisp edges of objects became jagged and surreal. It was like the very fabric of reality was coming undone, and I was caught in the unraveling threads. I tried to remove the headset, to escape the nightmarish vision, but it was like it was glued to my face. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to suffocate my rational thoughts. This wasn't right. None of this was right. As I stumbled through the distorted landscape, a voice began to echo in my ears. It was distant, distorted, like it was coming from another dimension. It whispered incoherent fragments, like a message from a broken mind. My heart raced, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I felt a creeping sense of dread, like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice. Reality seemed to shift and warp around me, like I was trapped in a fever dream. I tried to call out, to scream for help, but the words caught in my throat. It was like the very air had turned to lead, heavy and suffocating. I was alone, lost in a digital abyss. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes, or even seconds. Time seemed to lose all meaning in that distorted realm. I felt like I was slipping, like my grip on reality was fading. It was like a slow descent into madness. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it stopped. I blinked, my surroundings snapping back into focus. I stood in a dimly lit room, the headset still snug on my face. I tore it off, my hands trembling. I stumbled back, my legs threatening to give way. The room seemed to spin around me, like I was caught in a whirlwind. I reached out for something, anything, to steady myself, but my fingers grasped at empty air. I collapsed to the ground, my breathing heavy and labored. Reality felt like a fragile veneer, like it could shatter at any moment. I could feel my mind teetering on the edge of a precipice, threatening to plunge into madness. As I sat there, trying to make sense of what had just happened, I could feel something inside me snap. It was like a rubber band stretched too far, finally giving way. I could feel the tendrils of sanity slipping through my fingers, like grains of sand. I looked around the room, but nothing seemed real. The walls seemed to pulse and breathe, like a living, sentient entity. Shadows danced and swirled, taking on shapes and forms that defied logic. And then the whispers started again, soft, insistent, like a chorus of voices all vying for my attention. They seemed to come from all directions, surrounding me, enveloping me in their eerie symphony. I clamped my hands over my ears, trying to drown out the cacophony, but the voices persisted, growing louder and more frenzied. It was like a symphony of madness, a chorus of the damned. I couldn't take it anymore. I screamed, a primal guttural sound that tore through the air. I screamed until my voice was hoarse, until I felt like my throat would give out. And then suddenly, it was silent. The room was still, the shadows motionless. It was like the world was holding its breath, waiting. I sat there, my body trembling, my mind a chaotic maelstrom of thoughts and emotions. I didn't know how much time had passed, didn't know if I was still in that nightmarish virtual landscape or back in the real world. But here's the twist, the revelation that sent a chill down my spine. As I sat there, trying to gather my thoughts, I glanced at the reflection in the mirror. And there, staring back at me, was not the person I once knew. My eyes were wide and wild, pupils dilated to pinpricks. My face was pale, almost translucent, like a spectre from another realm. It was like I was looking at a stranger, someone who had been through hell and back. I don't know what happened in that virtual world, don't know if I'll ever fully understand. But one thing is for certain, I've been forever changed. The line between reality and illusion has been blurred, and I'm left to navigate the fractured landscape of my own mind. So, my friend, take this as a cautionary tale. Technology, as wondrous as it may be, has the power to warp our perception of reality. It can take us to places we never thought possible, but it can also lead us down a path of darkness and despair. Be vigilant, be cautious, and remember that sometimes the boundaries between worlds are not as clear-cut as they seem.